I'm still, in a warehouse with a bunch of people that I don't know doing drugs all night. Welcome to Behind the Armor, where we deep dive into the heart of what matters. I'm your host, Judd Shaw, adventurer, storyteller, agent of change, and speaker on authenticity and human connection. Join me as we explore the complexities of human connection, featuring theorists, scientists, and speakers. Our mission is simple: to inspire you to reclaim your true self and create genuine connections with others. Join me as we lay down our armor and live authentically.
Hello, you beautiful people, and thanks for tuning in. Today, we're speaking with Matt Emerzian. Matt built a successful career in the music industry as SVP of Robert Kardashian's music marketing company, working on projects for the biggest artists in the world: YouTube, Coldplay, Usher, Tim McGraw, and more. Matt found himself surrounded by fame and fortune. He had achieved the dream, yet was empty inside and unknowingly heading towards a Monday morning that would change his life, and now the lives of millions of people forever. Let's uncover what's behind the armor with Matt.
You are a senior executive VP of a major music mogul representing some of the world's biggest music superstars, including my man crush, Chris Martin and Coldplay. You wake up one morning and you realize that everything you thought mattered was bullshit. Matt, welcome to the show.
Wow, that's a heck of a welcoming. Yeah, I guess that was me. I was living the dream, I was working for Robert Kardashian. I got to do projects for the biggest bands in the world, and I thought I had checked every single box of what it meant to be successful.
So, let's call this Matt 1.0.
Okay.
And before this awakening, before the morning, right? I had a dark night of the soul. You had the dark morning of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And before this awakening, paint a picture for us. What's going on?
Well, I was in my, I was 30 years old. I was living in LA. I came here to go to college, so I just stayed in LA. And I was, again, working for, in the music industry. I started in artist management, managing my best friend's band, which I loved. My office was the Sunset Strip, basically. And, getting gigs at the Whiskey and the Viper Room and the Rainbow, Dragonfly and Rainbow Room. And, and I was just really kind of living the good life. Honestly, I was having a blast. And, then getting the chance to work with Robert, who is just an amazing man. I miss him dearly. And, I got to be around, Kim and Chloe and Courtney, and they worked in the office and all their friends were coming in the office. And so you can just imagine as a 30-year-old single guy, slightly a jerk, just, trying to make a lot of money, have nice things, have a house in the Hollywood Hills, be on all the VIP red carpets, Grammys, thinking that I was pretty cool. I think because of the people I was surrounded by, I thought that somehow I was also really, really cool. And then as you shared, it was, it was that Monday morning that everything changed. And, I didn't see it coming. That's the wild part. In hindsight, if I look back, and maybe the same thing for you, Judd, like when you had that dark night you're talking about, like in hindsight, maybe I can look back and like, there was a flag, there was a flag, there was a flag. But at the time, I didn't see any of it. I just woke up and ran into a brick wall.
My friend Nick Onkin calls them cosmic bricks that are thrown at us. And eventually some of us require more weight of bricks, more volume of bricks to be thrown at us before that happens. But, you woke up with a real panic attack leading to hospitalization, right? And this disconnection. Where did you have the conscious awareness, right? Before Out from the Ashes rises Matt 2.0, and before you go on this major journey that we'll talk about,
Yeah.
how did you have the conscious awareness about the fact that everything you thought mattered didn't, and it changed your perspective?
Wow, I feel like that conscious awareness came with a little bit of time, to be honest with you. Uh, that Monday morning when I woke up and had this massive panic attack, and you know, I think I was just an outcry for help, right? Like I was scared, and I knew that something was really off. I thought it was a heart attack, and typically when I talk to people who experience this, that first one especially, they think it was a heart attack. So, I think it's like necessity compels one to take action, right? And so I knew that something was really, really wrong. The doctors told me to go home and rest, eat well, drink lots of water, and I should be better in a couple of days. And that's not what happened for me, And so my anxiety attack or panic attack turned into chronic anxiety disorder and depression. So that's when I believe that I started down this healing journey, if you will, and through that journey, I started to learn new states of consciousness, awarenesses to understand, like, wow, I really was way off. And it wasn't until years later of working with my therapist, who I jokingly call my expensive friend. And it wasn't until years later that she actually said, Matt, I can say this to you at the time, but now I can say this to you today, that when you came in here that first time, you were an empty shell of a human.
Hmm.
And to hear that, it makes me sad. It's a little bit gut wrenching for me, to think that I was going through life as an empty shell.
Hmm.
It's a real striking, I think, visual. A lot of emotions wrapped around that visual for me. um, but that's really what started the journey of learning and healing. And that's where these new awarenesses started to come into my life, that they took time. Transformation takes time. It took me a long time to get to where I was, and it took me some time to get to a new, better place, to that 2.0.
Wow, that it so resonates about the shell of a human being. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I was curled up in a primitive fetal position in the
Mm-hmm.
corner of my garage floor. What had happened was I realized that at that moment, all the material things, all I had in my life, it was all bullshit.
Yeah,
It didn't really matter because there I lie at my unhappiest, at my most disconnected moment, and realize that those things aren't at the heart of my healing. Human connection was first with myself and then with others.
mm,
Because first I had to connect with myself because I felt like that shell of a human being. I
yeah.
felt like, everybody was applauding just this, this mask, this wolf, this, veneer. Everything that I was putting on was this show, but inside I felt broken.
That's right. That's right. It's interesting, and I'm going to say this now because I don't want to forget that. My third book I wrote, it's called "You Matter: Learning to Love Who You Really Are." And when I first started writing that book at home, before I pitched it, the title I was using was "The Connection Cure."
Mm.
And so when I met you, I'm like, okay, this guy, we're going to have a lot to share with one another. Because I went through the same process, Judd. I mean, first off, when I was going through my therapy and stuff, like, I was in a bit of a crisis state, and it sounds like you can relate. And, my ship had a lot of holes and it was taking on water real quick. And so we had to kind of steady this thing out. And then as I did that kind of internal work, the next thing we did is looked at my relationships around me, and which were life giving, which were life sucking. It turns out the nickname for anxiety disorder is the nice person's disease. So I was trying to please everybody and say yes to everyone except for
Mhm.
myself, right? And then
Yeah.
that final stage of my journey, my therapist said to me, I want you to know that you are never going to truly feel better until you know what it is to live a life that's not about you. And now we're getting some real new deep awarenesses about who is Matt and what is my purpose in this life and in this world. And maybe I need to take myself out of the center of the universe, if you will, and start to look at how I can serve this world around me better. And that was the ultimate, like, whoa, we can amass as many things as we want. But if we think that we were put on this earth just to amass stuff and work ourselves into the ground and then one day die, I think that we miss the purpose of our life.
And boy, did you go on a journey. 15-year plus of a mission and deep purpose that everyone everywhere deserves to be seen and heard and felt valued. And I so agree with you. Our missions align in what we're doing. You
Yeah.
know, it gets to a point where you now develop a nonprofit.
Yep.
Every Monday Matters.
Yep.
And you really talk about everyone deserves to be seen and heard. Your nonprofit doesn't cover a set or unique type or subset group of people. You really hit it all, right? So you have a K through 12 children's education program, which
Yep.
have helped millions of children. You have developed a workplace program in which increases companies' bottom lines, efficiency, culture, and really have tackled that issue. You then have already covered senior living and ensuring that seniors feel mattered as well. You know, tell me about this journey of developing this nonprofit and what it's doing.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Yeah. So basically, after all this journey of healing with this therapist and just the work I was putting in, um, one day I was inspired to write a book, and it was in 2007. And my thought was, I'm probably not the only person in the world trying to find purpose in all the wrong places. And I spent tens of thousands of dollars in therapy. And when my therapist told me to live a life that wasn't about me, she basically every Saturday I had to go out and do something that wasn't about me. And so it was this weekly dose of doing something outside of myself that truly helped me then find myself. And so I wrote a book called Every Monday Matters 52 Ways to Make a Difference in 2007, which was basically something people could do every Monday of the year, like I was doing on Saturdays in my therapy. I wanted to give people a 16.99 solution to my, $25,000
Yeah,
solution for feeling
yeah,
better.
and actionable.
Totally actionable. And that book, I call it the little book that could. And it took off.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, I was still working in the music industry at the time, but all of a sudden I started getting these calls and these emails, and we want school curriculum. Your book saved my life from committing suicide. Our company needs this in our culture. And all of a sudden it became this calling. Like, I'm like, I don't even know what this book is supposed to be. But I can't ignore the calls anymore. So I walked away from my music career, just to say, whatever this book's going to be, I'm gonna chase it. And I remember saying, what if I made Every Monday Matters a household name? That was my plan. That's all I had. I had a book, I had a MySpace page, and I wanted to make it a household name. Fast forward, 15 plus years now, we are, this nonprofit organization that, has served millions of lives. And it's the most rewarding work, I've ever done. And I've written 3 more books. I'm a keynote speaker as well. But now, I get to spend my life every day helping people embrace how much and why they matter. And it's just such a blessing. And, my brother, he's a doctor. And when I was going through my darkest of times, he said to me, he's like, Matt, one day you're going to be grateful for all of this. And I was like, dude, you're out of your mind. And like, there's no way I'll ever be grateful for this. And today I can say that I wouldn't have changed any of it. It was the biggest gift in the world.
Love it. I love it because when I went into rehab in 2020, I couldn't figure out why, if I bought a Ferrari and I'm driving it after 30 days when the smell of the leather wears off a little bit,
Huh.
why I wasn't getting that same high. when I,
Mhm.
was on a private jet flying, and then I'm like, why is this over? It's because the plane landed. And the point is that all of that stuff was never sustainable.
Mhm.
All of those material things, all of the bullshit,
Yeah.
it's what it did to me, right?
Yeah.
Made me feel, oh, very important guy. I mean, looking at private jets and boats and whatever, and look at me, right?
Yeah.
That's what I hoped. Because when you did look at me, it made me feel validated.
Right.
Now I feel heard and seen, but for the wrong reasons. I'm on billboards for the wrong reasons. And so when my therapist said to me, Judd, I want you to start thinking about serving others.
Mhm.
And I went out and I remembered I was in Newport Beach, California, and I went to Balboa Peninsula and I saw like a homeless camp. And so I went in a store and I bought a bunch of chips and I went and handed them all chips. And they all were like, so, right. And now I'm going, I hear they need socks. So I'm going to get them socks. But the point of that was I realized that that was sustainable, that when I helped others, whether it would be somebody giving food to or keynote speaking and trying to pass on the message that authenticity is our superpower, that's sustainable joy.
That is sustainable joy. And people ask me a lot, it's like, Matt, I want to serve other people. I want to make a difference. And but I can't go start a nonprofit organization. I can't go on some mission trip to Africa. I can't do these kind of big things that I see people doing that are so inspiring. And for me, like, I see inspiration in the smallest moments of it. We can make a difference, even if we didn't buy those people a bag of chips, just by even just walking up and saying hi or acknowledging them. I just was reading something recently about the unhoused population, that they interviewed a bunch of men and women who were unhoused, and they said, "What do you crave more than anything? Was it shelter? Was it food? Was it clean socks?" And the thing that they craved more than anything was to hear someone say their name.
Mm, right?
And and we can all do that, right? We can do that every day and in any moment. And when you go to the grocery store, just see someone, just say hi to someone,
Mm.
just ask someone, how they're doing, or hey, hope you're having a great day.
And,
Like,
and, and I want to
serve.
unpack this science of that for a minute because that's really, really important. That, you know, the sense of mattering, and I want to get into your mattering mindset. I think it's
Yeah,
fascinating. We want to feel heard, seen, and feel valued. We want a sense of belonging. We want a
mhm,
sense of belonging more than we want anything else because we're innately wired that way, right? Just like, you know, uh, uh, children who are with a caregiver in an unhealthy situation will stay in that situation because it will require that sense of belonging more than actually a sense of safety.
that's
And
right.
so, right. And so, in that sense of belonging, when that moment, which is like just hi, the acknowledgement, that alone really drives human connection. Is that why mattering mindset, or is that why we matter is so important?
It is. And what's fascinating, Judd, and you'll like this a lot. So, uh, we're producing a tool right now to measure mattering in people, a sense of mattering in people.
I
And
love that.
yeah, dude, it's the coolest research that we've been doing. We started in 2023, and to start that, we started asking people, "What does mattering mean to you?"
Wow.
And the responses that we got was, "I feel important. I feel seen. I feel worthy. I feel loved. Right? I feel like I belong." Like all of these things that we're talking about, which were incredibly beautiful. But what I noticed, what was missing in all of the responses, was it was so much about how it made me, the individual, feel, but it ignored my role in helping others feel that same way. And so mattering isn't just to feel seen, heard, and loved. It's also embracing our role in creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and loved. So
Mm,
it's, I matter, but it's not about me. And that's the paradox of this whole thing is, it's kind of like some people say, I need to love myself before I can love other people. And I say, no, I don't believe that. Because also through loving other people, you can learn to love yourself.
Mm.
And that's the same with mattering.
Yeah.
Through helping other people feel seen, heard, and loved, you can also help yourself feel the same way. It goes both
So
ways.
extraordinary. And what in the responses are you measuring? Is it like we're looking for patterns of what the mattering underneath means?
Yeah. So basically, our mattering mindset framework, it's a three-legged stool, and it's the I matter is the first leg, understanding myself, the good, the bad, the ugly of all that. The you matter is understanding that through my actions, my words, my thoughts, my behaviors, I have the I have the ability to impact those around me. And we are all extremely, extremely powerful when it comes to our ability to impact those around us. And then the we matter is that we're all a part of something much bigger. And so the I matter, you matter, we matter are the three-legged stools. And then below that, each of those are five attributes that we have. So when someone understands I matter, we can look for things like purpose. We look for things like authenticity. We look for things like agency, sense of agency or resiliency. When someone understands you matter, they value connection,
Mm.
right? They value honesty and truth. When someone understands we matter, they value community, they value hope, they value. So we can look at these attributes and we can measure people's. This is what we're working to do: is measure people's levels of living true to these ideas and these attributes that support each of the I, the you, and the we matter.
I love
What's
that. The
interesting?
core
What's
values.
Their core values. That's right. And so what we do is we at every Monday Matters we ask this question. I've asked this question for 15 years to hundreds of thousands of people. If there's one word that you, Judd, think we need more of in the world today, what is that word?
Love.
Love. And so we collect these words. And at the end of the year, we put these words in a word cloud and we see what comes up. And we end
Mm.
up picking 12 of those words. And those 12 words become our monthly themes for the upcoming year.
Mm.
So every year we have a new set of values that we are driving into the community, into our schools, into companies, into senior living communities. And then, so you have Monday gets kind, let's say, or Monday gets loving. We'll use love. Monday gets loving is the monthly theme. And this week, because then every Monday is a strategy. So this week is use your words. So in an I Matter engagement, we would ask you to do an assessment on your self-talk. What kind of words do you use when you're talking to yourself or about yourself or thinking about yourself? Are they loving at all? In a
Mm-hmm.
you matter way, we might say, go out and in a loving, kind way, compliment 5 people today, right? In a
Mm-hmm.
we matter sort of way, we'd say, hey, listen, how can we in our school classroom or with our team at work bring more love into this space with the words that we choose, right? And so it's this monthly themes, weekly strategies meets I matter, you matter, we matter, and that is our theory of change. That's our engine. And we just bring that into spaces where it can be consumed and operationalized.
I mean, if you can't see the smile and it's I'm in awe of this. It is so great. I love this. I want to unpack this for a minute because, as you pointed out, similarly, I have the connection cure, right? In my framework being CURE, conscious awareness, how we're disconnected, showing up in our lives. How do we show up? Understanding, which is learning about how authenticity and being real and raw allow you to thrive. R for renewing, which is renewing connection with yourself and others. And then E, which is expanding, which means broaden your connections, expand the connections, because the more deep connections you have, the more you will thrive in your life. And
That's right.
so, what I wanted to ask you is I was curious, right? A component of mine has a component of connection with self and connection with others.
That's right.
Can you come into your framework in one and having like a missing leg? In other words, can I feel that you matter
Mm.
but that I don't matter.
Mm. Dude, you're so good, man. Yeah, so it's interesting. So for the first 12 years of this journey with Every Monday Matters, I'm a visual learner. And so I draw things a lot, and I abuse post-it notes and whiteboards. Uh, I used to draw this model with the I matter was like the inner circle, the small one. The you matter was the circle outside of that. And the we matter was the bigger circle outside of all of that. So they were
Right.
concentric circles. And on my third book, I sent it final manuscript off to the publisher in New York, and it was ready to go. And I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and I'm like, wait a second, the drawing is wrong. I've had it wrong all along. And all of a sudden I saw this Venn diagram where the
Mm.
I matter circle, the you matter circle, and the we matter circle were all the same size. And they all had equal value and equal importance, and they overlapped. And right in the middle, where all three of them overlapped, is where I saw us as human beings at our very, very best. At all times, I'm aware of myself and my own needs. I'm aware of how I impact those around me and their needs. And I realize I'm part of something bigger than myself. But the truth is, we don't always live right there in the center where they all overlap. And you know, I get called and we get called a lot into service industries, for example. So, into just I'll just go with healthcare. In healthcare, they're really good at the you matter part of serving their patients, serving those who need their help. They're kind of bad at the we matter part. For example, like the nursing industry is a very, eat your own kind of industry. They don't support each other very well. And also, we all know plenty of people who are constantly serving and they just can't serve anymore from an empty bowl. Teachers are the same way. So when we go into education circles, we start with I matter with our educators because we know that they will just keep giving and giving and giving and giving
Mm.
but at the risk of their own health and their own well-being. So I'd like to think that we're always all in this perfect spot where we have them all nailed at the same time. But the truth is we're not. And I'm not perfect. I can tell you, and my wife reminds me kindly that, Matt, until you treat yourself like you matter, you can't go help other people know how much they matter.
Mm.
And that's typically when I've been working way too many hours, when I've been on a few too many airplanes, a few too many hotels. She can see that I'm tired. She can see that I'm run down. And she's like, wait a second, you need some I matter time for Matt. And it's, first of all, it's lovely when your wife uses your own
Right.
framework on you.
Right. Right.
but it's true. It's true. We can still get out of balance. There's no question about it.
It's great. I do use rings in my framework because my concept is that it grows. It grows from
Yeah.
within, and the expanding grows from out. But what I love about your diagram is the concept that a stool without three legs will tip.
Yeah.
And so if you're missing one of these matters, you're tipping maybe too far into you
That's right.
matter and I matter, right? And if I'm tipping too far in we matter, maybe I'm forgetting about those close relationships where you matter, right?
That's right.
And so you can, like, the concept that it requires all three is the balanced approach. And when I think about that, I think about how that's the power when we show up real and raw, and we're so aligned with our core value.
Yes.
Because if our core value, for instance, my core values, love, compassion, forgiveness, harmony, wholeheartedness, if those core values are how I show up for myself, but they're also how I deal in my relationships with others, I give myself compassion, grace, but likewise, I give you compassion and I give we compassion. And
That's right.
so if I'm showing up aligned with my core values in community, in my relationships with others, and my relationship with myself under mattering this mindset, it sounds like that's when I'm really thriving.
That's right. That's right. And I wanted
So
to ask you too, because a lot of that I think, and all that there you find authenticity, right? And so, um, I mean, you've obviously done a lot of work and really trying to understand, like, who is Judd? Like, who am I? And what are these values that drive me? And when I really understand these things, it just allows me to show up wherever I am in life as truly my authentic self, right? And I think, and you're more of an expert, I would say, than even me at this. Although I do talk about authenticity, is this craving for a world that can just show up authentically, right? And how that a lot to me, that's, I mean, that's the cornerstone. Like, you can't have a you matter or a we matter without authenticity. We can't build meaningful relationships without authenticity. We can't live true to ourselves if we're not being authentic with ourselves. And I mean, I should just stop talking and let you talk about
No,
this.
I'm like, my brain is blowing up as you're talking about, because I'm like, following this podcast, you and I have to do a workshop together.
Okay.
Because here's the overlap.
Yeah.
Yes, at the core is, for me, authenticity is your absolute superpower.
Yeah.
And here's why. Because if I'm authentic, then I respect myself and
Yeah.
I really believe I matter. I'm showing up as my unique, my most beautiful, true version of what's aligned with my core values in how I want to show up in the world. You're seeing the real and raw Judd version.
That's right.
If I believe you matter, then likewise, being absolutely authentic respects that, because I can say, Matt, I would love to have dinner tonight, but I'm drained, man. I have like 20% energy and I really need to just like quiet my mind. And that's respecting you, because then I'm not giving you me at our dinner, right? I'm not going to be there in the way I want to show up. And likewise, also, if we matter, authenticity means I can be vulnerable enough to say, hey, Matt, the other day, like, maybe it's just me, but when you were walked away after we were just talking about something, did I say something wrong? Like, whatever. And you're like, no, I'm sorry. I thought we were like totally done with the conversation. In other words, it allows you to be vulnerable with me, being vulnerable with you. And the we matter part, the authenticity of the we matter, is that true sense of belonging happens in our tribe, where we now share values, where we share interests and purpose and meaning, and we really are thriving in a community standpoint. And so I think when you layer authenticity over I matter, you matter, and we matter, boy, are you doing well in your life.
That's right. Bam, done. Mic drop. Yeah, we can do a decent job. We can do a decent job of making connection and building teams and building relationships. But we're not going to get to the level of meaning in any of this if we don't show up authentically.
Right.
Because then it's not built on like ultimate, like, capital T truths, right? And
Yes.
but we also know that, judgment of ourselves, judgments of others, there's insecurities, there's so many wounds, there's so many things that keep us from
Sure.
showing up authentically. And so, when you see a room of people or a team, even at work, working together, it's almost like you just want to say, okay, how many right now are showing up 100% as your authentic self? And if we're not, then let's start with working on that, because once we nailed that part, the work we produce together is going to be eons beyond what we could do when we're not all showing up as our true, authentic, real selves.
So you hit it right on the mark, man. Yeah, absolutely. You're an amazing keynote speaker on the big stage, really helping companies get underneath mattering.
Yeah.
So people are showing up with raising their hand with opinions and feedback, and frontline team members are not afraid to, tell a business when it's heading the wrong way or whatever. All of that comes from a place of feeling safe.
Yep.
and also feeling authentic. Because
That's right.
Matt, I've had the opportunity to be hanging out with you, and if we have conversation and you give off a vibe one way, and then I get to a conference and there's Matt, but like that's not the Matt I know. To your point, that doesn't drive that trust factor. I'm like, wait, which Matt is the real Matt? Is it the guy that I know when I'm just one on one, or is he like this different guy putting on a whole different persona?
Yeah. And a friend of mine used to say, because it was funny, because I would, when I first got in the music industry, I was still doing some other kind of consulting things. And so I would wear a suit jacket, and then I would get to the studio when I was like managing bands, and I would change into a totally different outfit. Was like, jeans and Converse and a t-shirt. And a lead singer one day said, Matt, you are your costume. And
Mm,
meaning I had all these different
love that.
costumes that I would wear. But as I think about that more today, I feel like that divide is gone now. Like I feel more and more like us as people, as humans, we just have one costume, and that's just ourselves. And my personal persona and my professional persona are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And so whether I see you on a street corner or whether I see you talk to you after I do a keynote off the side of the stage, you're going to get the same Matt. It's just, and that's because um, I've put in a lot of work, and I'm just going to show up as myself, like
Yeah.
unapologetically myself. And I think that I know I'm a good person. I know I care deeply for people. I know that whether again I'm at the grocery store or on stage, what I think about always is how can I help people feel seen, heard, and loved? How can I help them know that they matter? And that shows up. And if I'm in an elevator with you, I'm going to say hi. Um, you know, I joke that my wife thinks it's creepy, but I think it's weird that we stand there and ignore each other. And so I'm going to say hi to you in the elevator. I'm going to say hi to you on a subway. I'm going to say hi to you from the stage.
Yeah.
It's just how it's just there's no difference from my professional and personal life anymore.
And what resonates with the analogy of that costume, right? Is it armor? Is it a mask? Is it something you're
Mm.
putting on? Or, if I'm wearing a suit in courtroom playing my lawyer role, that's appropriate, right?
Yes.
That's expected. But if I'm now, doing a podcast in a t-shirt or a keynote and this other, it's not different versions of Judd. It's,
No,
a line, it's still the core values. It just happens to be, but it's when this suit becomes my sense of armor, my
that's right.
identity.
Yeah.
That's where it starts, the disconnection starts creeping in.
And I, Judd, I follow you on social media. I've seen you like now on this podcast. And yes, you have a lot of different styles in terms of clothing. You have maybe the courtroom Judd, which I've never seen before. But across the board, you're always Judd, right? And what I love about it is you're not afraid to just show up as Judd. You're not afraid to uh, because as brilliant and smart and as intelligent and I know and deep you are, I know that you're also um, just super fun and adventurous and playful and all these other things too. And so sometimes you'll show up and you have a T-shirt that's cut down open down to here with a bunch of necklaces on and bracelets, and now you're in a suit jacket, but it's always Judd. It's the same dude, and I just appreciate that.
Matt, I appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you making me feel like I matter, because that's what I wanted all of my life. But this is the genuine feeling of mattering, not the fake hurt seeing valued because they see some other version of me that, is some kind of like alter ego.
Yeah, man, I really respect you. I do, because the level of success that you've achieved. I was never on billboards. I worked for people who were on billboards. But the level of success you've achieved, and you know, um, you could have just kept going on,
Mm.
and achieving the success and that you've done. But I can tell you're someone who stopped and put in the work, and and now you're turning that, which I know is not easy. It's not easy
Not.
to go out there and to put your heart out there and to share these truths about yourself, especially up against this other life that you have built.
Mm,
And I
true.
have a dear friend. Her name's Jennifer Friend, and she was an attorney, also in Newport Beach, actually, and a senior partner at a huge law firm. And what no one knew about her is that she grew up homeless, and she was a motel child, and she and I became friends. And she was always scared to let anyone know this truth about her because she was a senior partner at this prestigious, law firm. And one day I said, "What are you hiding from?
Mm,
Like, that's your story, and it's beautiful. And look who you are today." She ended up walking away from the law firm, and now for the last, I think, 9 years, has run a nonprofit organization to help homeless women and children and families in Orange County. And
wow.
now she doesn't tell the story of Jen, the attorney, anymore. She tells the story of Jen, this homeless child
Mm,
who grew up always hoping for this, that, and the other thing. And now she brings that to families. And so for you, dude, to take that turn, to be bold, to be courageous, to go out there and share it is just awesome. And I believe that this world needs more big-hearted men
mm,
that are not afraid to go out there and show that side of us that we learn and we've taught all our lives just to get back up, you know, wipe off the tears. Don't
mm,
show that. Get back in
mm.
the game. Um, no, sometimes it's fine to say no. I got a big heart too, and I have feelings. I'm sensitive, and I think it's opening up something that our world desperately needs more of.
Appreciate that so much. And what it reminds me of is so many nights that after a day of being a lawyer and all this, success and cases and these things, I'm still, in a warehouse, broken down, like abandoned with a bunch of people that I don't know who they are, doing drugs all night because that's where I felt I belonged. That's
Yeah,
what I felt I deserved. But when I feel so understood, when I feel that belonging that you give in this kind of conversation, that's where I feel so mattered. That's replaces that deep, sustainable joy that we started with. And you, Matt, are such a beautiful human being. I have a question for you, and that is how, Matt, doing so much for so many other people, how do you authentically best connect with yourself?
man, that's it. That is a great question, and I'll be honest. I hurt my back a year and a half ago, and so I've had two back surgeries over the past 18 months,
Mm,
and might have to have a third. And so before that, I played tennis. So I have a whole tennis community of friends that I would be with 2 or 3 days a week. It was extremely life giving for me. I've been an athlete my entire life. I played water polo at UCLA in college, and so the sport part of my life has kind of been taken away the past nearly 2 years.
mm,
It's been extremely hard for me, emotionally, physically, and so I've been struggling lately with how do I better take care of Matt? How do I serve Matt? What's something I need to change? And it's interesting because the tennis thing came about because I told my wife we kind of just got into this groove, and I said we got to mix it up. I said we both should start a hobby, and
mm.
so my wife decided to start learning how to play the banjo.
Nice.
Her family's from the south, like
Huh?
the Blue Ridge Mountains,
Huh?
and I decided that I want to learn how to play tennis. But it was that decision to start a new hobby that, for me, opened up this whole world of tennis community.
Mm,
Some of my closest friends now are people who I play tennis with, um, and so it might be time. Now you're inspiring me, but it might be time for me to say, okay, what is this next thing? If tennis isn't going to happen, I can't just sit around waiting for it to happen again. There's something else I have to start in the meantime. I used to also do a lot of meditation.
mm.
But it's really interesting because in transcendental meditation, they give you a mantra.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And as I started speaking more, keynoting, I kept hearing the term SHRM, the Society of Human Resource, right? And as the more I heard the thing SHRM, it started to mess with my mantra. And now I can't remember my mantra anymore because I keep thinking SHRM. And they sound very similar, but they're not the same. So I'm actually going to meet with a transcendental meditation coach in a week or two to get a refresher on my mantra because now I don't know what it was. And
Nice.
I'm going to start doing that again. So I appreciate you asking me that. And I take that as a very sweet, not challenge, but inspiration to reconsider, like, what does Matt need to do more of to take care of Matt more?
Four-time award-winning book author, renowned keynote speaker, head of an incredible nonprofit, Every Monday Matters. Matt, people want to reach out or get in touch with you. What's the best way?
I mean, they can go to everymondaymatters.org. They can go to my personal website, matthewemerzian.com. They can email me at matthew@everymondaymatters.com. They can go to Instagram at Emerzian. They can go on LinkedIn. I'm out there. I'm on the web somehow. But what I love most is this. This is what I love most. This one-on-one connection with
Right.
someone. And I struggle with social media because, in a lot of ways, because this is what I crave.
Mm.
And but I understand why social media has its place. But I would rather do this all day with you than take 5 minutes doing anything on social media. But you can find me out there in technology land too.
Matt, I feel like I really matter. I
You do, my
know
friend.
that you matter, man, and we so matter. Matt, thank you from the bottom of my heart for connecting with me and coming on the show.
Man, I am grateful that you had me, and I'm grateful that we're friends. And here's to doing a lot of big things in the world together, my friend, and
Do
changing.
it. Let's do it. Let's connect
Do it,
these
bud.
things and roll it out.
Let's go. Let's go. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, Matt. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please follow us on your favorite platform or share this episode with a friend. You can also follow me on Instagram at Judd Shaw Official. A special thank you to personal injury law firm Judd Shaw Injury Law for their support in helping us bring this podcast to life. Remember, friends, authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. It's about embracing our vulnerabilities, celebrating our strengths, and owning our stories. Until next time.